Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 16 of the Glimmer cast. I'm your host, Rhea, and we're joined by our friend Original Seed from Potion Sword Run. How are you?
Hi, doing good. How you doing, Rhea?
I'm doing great. Sorry to
Awesome.
jump up on you with going
Oh,
live right now, but yeah, thanks
all
for
good.
being ready to go for the show. How are you
Professional
doing?
here. Professional. I'm doing good. All right.
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, I just finished watching The Godfather Part 3 a second time today, actually.
For you. I
Yeah,
watched it today too. I finished a couple hours ago, and I almost wanted to fast forward some parts, but I was like, nope. Watch it all, take it all in. And so I'm glad I didn't though. But it's pretty long,
so
and
you
I
have
can imagine it twice. It's like you. That's crazy.
You actually have the set, right, of all three films?
Here we
Ooh.
go. I actually had a bunch of DVDs, over like 500, but I gave them all away, and all I kept was like about five gangster movies that I have. Um, because of my background, my family's into gang life and all that stuff, so it's just stuff that interests me as a young age. And the reason why I'm doing the movie talk is because I went to school for movie making, graduated in doing movie making from post production to from pre production to post. So that's kind of like it's perfect, gangster movies. And I went to go to school to do movies, so it fits perfectly. And then this one here is part three, the one that I watched today. This is the
Yes.
cover there, and then it does show the family right there, a big old picture that they took and a part of the movie as
Ooh.
well.
That's
So yeah,
crispy.
that's about it. And so I kept this and about maybe five more movies.
That's what's up. Yeah, no, that DVD box set is pretty tight. And yeah, while we're ramping up, I'm gonna go ahead and say hey to everyone in the chat. We got Lucky Day in the house. See y'all were greeting each other before the show went live, and we got Mattia over in the EU. What's up? What's up, my guy? Good to see you. I know it's pretty early/late where you're at, so thank you for joining us in the early morning where you're at. But yeah, no, this is awesome. So like, I know it's like super random for us to like be talking about Godfather Part 3 when everyone's all
So,
excited about the Batman, but
Batman, exactly. And I also to watch that today. I'm like, no, I'll watch it some other day. I'm gonna watch a bad movie today.
yeah, no, I felt like this would be like a cool change of pace to just sort of like kind of detox from the Batman just for a little bit because we're going to be like getting floods of content from folks covering that movie already.
Yeah,
So I just
definitely.
wanted to cleanse my palate a little bit with a terrible movie. So that's why we're here right now.
Yeah, it's not all terrible though. It does have its moments. I want to give it that, but a lot of it is terrible.
No, yeah, totally. I have some key clips from YouTube that should not get the stream derailed, but we'll see. I'll be a little bit more careful to not get the stream flagged again, as I've been doing every week since I've been doing these movie and TV reviews.
Rhea's
But
a
yeah,
bad
well,
girl. That's why.
I just be watching like full movies like on stream, like it's
Yeah, it's like I
nothing.
don't
Like
care.
oh.
I'm throwing it up. Encino Man though, they're getting crazy over that one.
Yeah, for real. But like Money Plane, no, just play the whole movie. It's fine.
Yeah. Here, give us some, some free advertisement.
For sure. Oh yeah, we got No Swear Gamer in the house. What's up? What's up? Just stop by
Good
to
to see
say
you, sir.
hey. Yeah, that's what's up. And Lucky Day again. Thank you so much for hanging out. Love it, love it.
Yes, Lucky Day is half terrible.
I caught some of his stream earlier too, from when I was working. So yeah, that was some good convos there with Extra Sanderson. And we got Kamuzu in the house. What's up, my guy? Cool. So yeah, let's see. Where should we start? Would you be down to watch the trailer and then just sort of
Yeah,
like dive into the
let's go.
convo from there? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have the trailer ready to go. I will go ahead and share it right now. Do. Cool. Yeah, so that was basically the trailer for the movie. A little bit different from the 1990 version because it was the director's cut that was released almost 2 years ago. But yeah, no, it tells us basically the same story.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
sorry. I Give me
okay,
one
go
second.
ahead.
Sorry, the audio is playing for the next clip. Okay, my bad. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, like Lucky Day was saying that the music alone, pretty much makes it. But that's the thing about it, Lucky Day. Like even the opening scene of the part three movie, it pulls all the nostalgia for the first 30 minutes. That's how big how long the party is, And it starts with the music. It pulls you in, and you start feeling those moments of part one and part two, and that's how they're getting you. The music. They're trying to say like, hey, this is just obviously part three, but they're getting you with that nostalgia. But it soon falls apart after that.
No, yeah, for sure. Like, okay, so just to set the tone for like the synopsis of the movie, to your point, Original Seed, the opening scene is Michael Corleone and the Archbishop of the Vatican, who's essentially like considered quote unquote God's banker because he manages the money that is donated to the church or sanctioned or untaxed by the government and all those things. Like he handles that stuff. He's talking with Michael Corleone, who at this point in his life, he's turning 60-ish years old. He is looking to go legitimate in terms of basically whitewashing his finances and donating any of the blood money or a large chunk of the blood money he's accumulated under the Corleone crime family over the last like 40 years or so since he took over the family in Godfather Part 1. And in order to sort of like get the blessing of the church, basically, he donates like over $500 million, not million, $billion, like $600 million to the church for the restoration of Sicily. Or at least that's what we're told the money is supposed to be going to. So
Yeah.
the plot is a little convoluted because it gets into all of these side plots with the Vatican sort of like whitewashing funds and actually like having illegitimate ties to illegitimate businesses of its own. The movie gets into that a little bit, but it sort of muddies up the whole planned redemption arc for Michael Corleone and his ultimate undoing because of his own actions and inability to escape his criminal past.
Well said.
Yeah, no, totally. So yeah, like the opening scene for me though, I wish I'd pulled up a clip for that now that we're talking about it. But basically, I felt like it was a little anticlimactic compared to what we got with like Godfather Part 2, for example. I'm not sure how long ago you may have seen it, but I watch it pretty regularly, like I do Lord of the Rings, and it's in the top of my mind that we get a flashback to when Vito Corleone was still like a 9-year-old boy in Corleone, Sicily, and he's attending his brother's or his father's or one of his family members' funerals, and then his brother is killed in that scene as well. And then his mother is killed shortly after. So that's like a really impactful, short amount of time that we're, getting some sense of like what the story is going to be telling us, like as far as like a narrative goes. Like in the scene that we're talking about in Part 3, though, I feel like diving right into the Archbishop and Michael talking about legitimizing the Corleone business with this large donation. It's there's not that much like emotional impact there for me personally. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that original
definitely.
scene.
See, and that's the thing. Like in the beginning of the movie, they open up with the Fredo, because they wanted to pull at your heartstrings to remind you about the first one, to remind you how impactful it was, and so they're pretty much relying on a bunch of throwbacks to other movies, especially in the start, just to set this one up. So it don't really have a moment of its own, and I agree with you on that one. So it don't, like with all the other movies, the stakes were already all stacked high from the beginning, and in this one, it kind of just felt like it was a continuation. And they do set up like the plot pretty much, like who's the bad from the beginning. You already know who's the bad guys, who's pulling the fingers. I mean, at least I did from the beginning. I was like, oh come on, that guy's the bad guy. He's just the enforcer. Like I knew from the beginning because they pretty much set it up in the beginning, and there wasn't anything where it was just like letting like, oh, this is gonna happen. I mean, the whole church part, I guess it needed to have like another, like a something to drive the movie forward. And so I get that, but I think it kind of just took away a lot from just explaining all that, which is boring.
Yeah, no, exactly. I feel like what I said earlier, it kind of muddies out the main point of the movie is to show how Michael tries to go legitimate, and like we're kind of losing a sight of the clues that the movie and foreshadowing the movie is trying to give
Yeah,
us that it's actually going to end terribly.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it was telling two stories and didn't kind of know which one it wanted to tell for me. But that was like as the movie went on, that's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, definitely. And then in the following scene, in the party scene, to your point, where we got Tommy Yumiko in the house. What's up, my guy? Good to see
What's up,
you.
Tommy?
Good to see you. So like following up to that scene, we get the social gathering party scene as well, where there's Italian music playing, families all around. It's very like joyous occasion. Everyone's celebrating this massive donation that Michael is giving to the Vatican, and it's kind of a public display of the Corleone business going legitimate. And that's where we also introduced to Mary. We're reintroduced. We did see Mary as a child in part 2, but we didn't really get too much interaction with her. So we see her as a young woman. And we're also introduced to Vincent, Sonny Corleone, who is Michael's brother, who was brutally murdered in part 1, his illegitimate son. So we do have some context that part 1 did give us. So Sonny Corleone was having an affair with this woman in part 1, and we do see her with her son Vincent. So the strings of who this person is are already planted thanks to part 1. So that explanation's already there. And that's where we're introduced to Vincent and Mary. What are your thoughts on those characters from the introduction?
Oh, obviously, I mean, it's a good. No, I'm torn because in order for the movie to work, you need to have a Corleone or at least somebody that's part of the family to take over for Michael. But what makes it so odd is he doesn't know who Michael's daughter Mary is. It's like, how does he not know who Mary is if that's his cousin? Even if he's over there in Atlanta or New York doing whatever he's doing, how do you not know who Michael's daughter is? So that thing never fit correctly with me. And beyond that, it's like what they do after. It's like, so that whole thing kind of just threw me right off from the beginning, where it's like, come on, man, you got to know who she is. I mean, I would know who she is if I want to be like a gangster guy. You got to know who she is. So that writing was just boring to me, or I don't know, it just didn't kind of quite fit. Maybe I missed something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like they're re-meeting each other for the first time, which is a little odd because Mary even says like, oh yeah, I remember we used to, spend time together. I was 8 and you were 15. That was the last time I saw you.
And
so
they're talking about having girlfriends that were 8 years old when he was 15. And they're trying to, like, from the beginning, they're trying to like start like, oh, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about them being kissing cousins. And, because from the beginning, 15-year-olds and 8-year-olds are just, it's normal.
That is definitely something I was going to like kind of roughly segue into. And hey, Gen X, good to see you, my man. Dinner and movie talk, absolutely. But yeah, no, just to quickly establish who, like the significance of Mary Corleone. She is first cousins with Vincent. And this is really weird for like modern audiences to see, like especially like if incest is not part of your day-to-day life, and especially like with the jarring age gap as well, and just knowing that they grew up together in a sense and have memories of each other as children. That was just really distracting for me. And also just to like kind of point out, there's like right before Mary comes up to Vincent, there are like 3 other young girls who like can obviously like are a lot younger than Mary herself, and they're kind of like crushing on Vincent as well, giving him.
And Mary's
like,
got to be like 16 or something, right?
Oh yeah, I mean at least like I want, my brain is telling me, okay, if she's 18, like this, like even still it's weird, but like please just be 18 in this movie. I need my brain to believe that you're 18 in this movie.
Because I don't know. I mean, it just seems like she was. I haven't really looked into the history, but it just, that whole thing just kind of was just odd to the whole part, and I was like, all right, whatever, I'm gonna roll with it.
Oh man, it was really distracting for me. And Uyamika, to your point, that happens in the Jerry Lee Lewis movie, Great Balls of Fire. He married his little cousin. Yeah, no, I remember hearing about those stories too. Yeah, the rock and roll days in the 50s were wild AF. But yeah, no, okay. So setting the groundwork for who Vincent is. He is Sonny Corleone's illegitimate son, and he didn't really like grow up too close with the Corleone family as established by like his distance from Mary over the last like maybe 8 years or so. He's kind of a street hood, you know, he's very like street smart, very like rough. Like he has
and you can
some
tell
like
he wasn't in with the family either. You can, because there was a part where he goes into the party in the first scene, and he's not even on the list, you know. And so they were
yes,
gonna try
neither
to
is
kick
his
him out,
mom.
and it was like,
Yeah, no,
yeah, or his mom. So he just kind of crashed the party. So I mean, they weren't that close to begin with, so it's kind of like okay, maybe, but still, it just.
yes, yeah, exactly. And then kind of like segueing into his whole purpose of being at the celebration. So like because he's not so close to the family, you're probably wondering like why is this person here? This illegitimate, you know, nephew of Michael Corleone. So he's there to settle to get some to have a sit down with this character, Joey Zaza. I love that name, Joey Zaza. He is one of the main antagonists of the movie. He is basically a capo, I think, or some sort of enforcer for one of the districts in New York that Michael Corleone has given, you know, power to.
I think he took over Michael's district, if I'm not mistaken. Because I remember Connie getting mad because he's saying that his neighborhood is like run like a slum now or something.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole reason why. Oh, and hey, Jack Slaw. Hey, Bigford and Entertainment. Good to see y'all. And that's the whole point that Vincent is really angry
Working for him.
at Zaza,
Yeah.
and they have to have that sit down with Michael over this how the territory that Zaza is running is being treated, because Zaza is allowing like drug dealing, you know, like letting the neighborhood go into shambles. So there's some, you know, characters talking about it as well, because Vincent is apparently supposed to be like this Robin Hood sort of character in that district that the neighborhood folks go to. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was actually a little throwback to Goodfellas. Tommy's
Yes,
mom
Scorsese's
talked to
mom.
Vincent.
Yes.
Yeah, talked to Vincent and told him about how the neighborhood has gone bad, you know? And
I was
so it's
thinking
just
just
funny. It's
that.
like a little, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, she's adorable. Yeah, that's Martin Scorsese's mom, and it's
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, I just know her from Goodfellas. So she was Tommy's mom when she fed
yes,
them dinner.
yeah, she's adorable. So yeah, she's in this as well. And funny enough, Goodfellas came out the same year as Godfather Part 3, 1990. So just a fun heads up about that. So yeah, again, like diving back into the synopsis of the movie. So like the antagonist, Joey Zaza, is having to sit down with Vincent and Michael, and Michael's like, you know, impressed by the loyalty that Vincent is showing in front of him by claiming that Joey is, you know, totally, you know, talking ish about Michael behind his back, you know, spreading lies about him, like just like running the neighborhood into the dirt, blah 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 blah. Zaza says no, like Shakespeare says all bastards lie, blah blah blah, and that just sets Vincent off. And there's this savage scene. We get like a firsthand view of how savage and similar to Sonny that Vincent is, when he just goes ham on Zaza's ear and just rips it off. He goes Mike
Yeah,
Tyson on this poor guy's ear.
it does. Michael puts him in a room and has them shake hands so they can squash the beef, because Michael determined that there was no real beef between Michael. It's none of their business. So he just let it off. He told them, hey, let's shake hands. And when they shook hands, you see that Sonny come out of him and just bit his ear off.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay, so like if you're familiar with part one, when Sonny Corleone goes and fights Carlo, Connie, his sister's husband, like who was beating her like all the time, he goes and like beats his ass in the middle of the street and like beats him with like garbage can lids, like kicks him in the stomach, kicks his head in, and then like when Carlo is trying to grab like a bar to like get up, like Sonny bites his hand. So I got like flashbacks to that. Like these guys will just use everything they have to just like wail on you.
And it was Sonny's demise. He got all hot-headed and went after the husband, I guess, when he got killed at that little stop sign, by himself. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely that hothead.
Yeah, definitely. And just jumping back into like Michael, seeing how fiercely loyal Vincent is, he kind of takes him under his wing and tries to, teach him more ways to conduct himself in a manner that doesn't surface his intentions, and tries to groom him into a mafia boss in order to potentially take over. Well, that's not essentially. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say that like that eventually that's what happens. It's pretty much because he had no other option. His family, his son was stepping away trying to be a professional singer, and then he was trying to keep his daughter legitimate. So I mean, he pretty much had no other choice. So that was just an opportunity for him to, you know, make sure that stuff's taken care of.
Yes, exactly. I was just about to get into that. So like Michael's actual like nuclear family. So like his wife and his children, they live away from him. Him and Kay, his wife, divorced like about 20 years ago and lived separately. The children lived with Kay, their mother. And now this ceremony where this huge donation to the Vatican is happening is supposed to be like an olive branch to show that Michael is finally, you know, making amends with his family and becoming a legitimate businessman. But Kay and his at least their son Anthony, they kind of see through that veneer a little bit. Like they can tell that the business end of Michael's like past like criminal activity is still very much present, despite the quote unquote like, you know, public display of a donation to the Vatican, like the ultimate, you know, moral high ground in their society at that time. I don't know if you have anything else to like add to that, because I was going to jump to like his relationship with Mary.
No, definitely go ahead.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, so like jumping to Michael's relationship with Mary. Yeah, now I guess we can talk about a little bit of like performances from Sofia Coppola, who is like lambasted by critics everywhere for her. I will use this word like nicely, inexperienced, you know, performance and or acting performance as Maria Mary Corleone. And I don't know if you have any like criticisms or key scenes you want to point out about her performance there.
Her performance was fine with me because even when I first watched it, I didn't know that was who she was. You know, I thought she was just an actor. And I mean, I'm sure you could have picked a better actress to play that role, but I mean, she was supposed to be playing like a naive, thirsty 16-year-old, and that's exactly what she played, a naive, thirsty 16-year-old. You know, she got in trouble for being thirsty. She was naive, didn't know what's going on around her. And, you know, that's what happens. But her acting was fine. I mean, yeah, it was fine. It was fitting for the role. I'm not going to be a harsh critic and say she was awful or just because she was related to the director. You know, that whatever, you know, people get favors and that's something that she got and whatever, no biggie.
Yeah, no, just thinking back on the original version of the movie, which I did see in addition to the director's cut. The director's cut took out a lot of Sofia Coppola scenes, I noticed.
Oh, did they?
It did, yeah.
Yeah. What
So,
scenes
like,
do you...
What scenes? There was a
Yeah.
lot of exposition scenes with Vincent, for sure. Like and those were like kind of like the more jarring ones that made the movie uncomfortable for me to watch originally.
Yeah, like when,
so the director's cut
like
was a little bit better.
when they were like in his apartment type deal cooking that pasta, and I was like, you know. So I mean, she was fine. I mean, I'm not gonna knock her. Her performance was okay. You know,
it wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst, right?
Yeah, it wasn't. That's what I'm saying. It was like it was fitting for the movie. You know, down the road, it's all good. I mean, she was pretty enough for the role. You know,
oh
she
yeah,
had
she was beautiful
features. You know, she had like nice full lips with like a, you know, she was fine. You could have picked a lot worse.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, so yeah. And what did you think about the acting performance for Andy Garcia as Vincent before we dive more into the synopsis?
See, I mean, he showed a lot of range, I guess you can say. I'm not really into Andy Garcia. But I mean, like I said, he was fine. I don't know. I'm not a huge Andy Garcia fan, so it is what it is. He was fine. Like towards the end when he started actually taking Michael's advice and started becoming more level-headed. You know, I like that Andy Garcia more than him trying to be a tough guy with the leather jacket and stuff. It just seemed he seemed like he was playing a role at that part. I don't know. I mean, he was playing a role, but I mean, it just seemed I didn't like that character. But eventually, when he got serious and he started like actually just being a lot less animated, I started liking him. But I mean, as far as his acting, like I'm a professional actor. I mean, it was fine. It just I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, no. For me, I think I liked his character and how animated he was when he was still very much channeling Sonny Corleone,
Oh, so
especially
we're
in the
like the
scene.
opposite.
We are, yeah. So like,
Yeah.
I liked how, to your point about the movie harkening back to part 1 and part 2, like very memorable spots in those movies. Just the characterizations of Sonny Corleone really shined through in Andy Garcia's performance for me, and
Yeah.
like I do have a key scene that I wanted to play some parts of, especially so you remember in the party scene, he meets up with this news reporter woman who wants to get an interview with Michael Corleone. She doesn't really get FaceTime with him, but Vincent, takes her back, and pipes her down, and then their house, their apartment gets broken into. So
I like
have
that. I
that
like
scene.
That's a good scene. I like that one.
Yes, we should go
Yes.
ahead and watch it. I have it right now. And we got Hans in the house. What's up, Hans?
Hey, Hans.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and share.
Hey, Bigaford. Jack's Law.
Big
Jesse Allen.
Tight.
I like when you say tight whenever you're doing stuff. Just to get the conversation going. Let you guys know I'm doing something that's tight.
How can you not like this character acting?
No, he did some good parts.
What'd you say? I said cut her fucking throat. Okay, Chief. Drop your gun, man. He's gonna cut her throat. What are you fucking crazy? I already know this part. What are you gonna do? Guy, cut her. What the fuck do I?
Him in this bathrobe, though.
No choice, man.
It just shows he's a cool guy, It's like, so this scene is good for him, for his character.
You give up that knife, I'll let you go. You cut her throat, man. Right now. Hey! I'm gonna do something to convince you.
Look how calm he is.
Any sudden movements, just watch me, all right? You hear what I said?
Okay, pause really quick, because like that was literally my face, like right there. I could not believe he really just blew that guy's brains out. Like I was like, oh, he's just gonna play around and like act like he's gonna shoot him, but really not. He's gonna like shoot the ceiling, but no, he like actually caps this guy.
Yeah. So you know what? I take it back. I mean, his acting's pretty good. Okay. I was just hating, but you're right. You point that out, and that was a good scene. That shows how good of that acting he was. Like he was playing the role cool, calm, and collected, but yeah, freaking homicidal as well. So yeah, you're right. I was wrong. I was hating.
No, you're not wrong. You have your opinions, and I don't want you to feel like
no,
be toxically positive like me all the time.
No, definitely not, because there's stuff that I don't like for sure. But I'm always like, I like to take people's feedback and be like, you know what, he actually, you made a point there, Rhea. I didn't see that, because when I was watching, I was like, all angry, like, oh. So now that I'm seeing like little parts, I'm like, okay, all right. Like I said, half and half. Half the parts I liked, half of the parts I didn't. But because I was trashing the movie, saying it never had its moments. That's a cool moment. You know what I mean? And it does have a few moments, and I thought it relied too much on the other movies, but that's a good moment. So I can stand corrected as well.
And just to highlight Uyamiko's comment, lol, the crazy irresponsible adults who let me watch this shit on tape in the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking like I was older when I was a little kid than the kids today or something, because I remember I used to like walk to school when I was in kindergarten by myself. I used to watch all these movies. That's why I'm all nostalgic about them. And I was like, dude, I used to watch this stuff when I was like a little kid in grade school. What's going on? Where my parents at?
Oh yeah, I was watching Boys in the Hood, Friday, like
right?
all these movies back then. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Lucky Day, boss move right there. I was shocked. I was like, now I feel like there's some like stakes in this scene. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play the rest of it.
Oh shit! Drop the knife. Dad, stop it! Good boy. Sit down. One talk.
Slapping the booty.
Lose the mask. Relax. Have a smoke. Smoke.
He's like so calm. He like knows he's gonna kill him too. He like could not care less what else. But he's like just waiting for him to like say who sent him.
Take a good look at this guy.
Yeah.
So who sent you? Joey Zaza. No.
Oof. Damn.
Look how quick that was. Even a second thought, you know. He's just like, what? He already knew, like you said. Not even a second thought. Ruthless.
And I'm just like, I wonder how many people killed, before he, even started his day and like invited this woman over. Like, that's how nonchalant he is.
Yeah. That's why he has a red robe, because it gets blood on it. So you can't even tell. It's like, whatever.
Oh God. Yeah, no, this scene was just like, okay, is he going to be like this sociopath who is just unhinged for the rest of the movie? Or am I actually going to have empathy for him? Because I really just feel detached from someone who has no remorse or reaction to just offing two dudes right now. I don't know if you had a similar reaction or not.
I don't.
What reaction did you have?
I was actually rooting for him right there. You know, I was like, that's right, man. You got to go gun blazing. You know, it's like, I don't care who's messing, who you got to mess with. Just do that. Do some John Wick stuff. That's all I cared about at that time, because that's when I started liking his character more. At first, I thought it was like, just a little guy crying. Oh, I'm Mr. Big Shot because this is my uncle, and I want to make a name for myself. But then it's like, nah, this guy's legit. You know what I mean? He's not gonna mess around. So that's kind of where I was like, okay, all right, I might like him after all. And that's when I started, although he still needs work as a character to be the Don. At least that's where I thought, he's like, that's that Michael scene where he goes in and shoots that cop in the little diner or whatever they're at, and the other boss. So that's the point where I was like, all right. He's stepping up. He's gonna put his money where his mouth is, pretty much.
Yeah, no, totally. And that pretty much just gives him the proof, I guess, that he needs to show to Michael that Joey Zaza is actually an enemy to Michael. Because originally, when they had to sit down, Michael, like to your point that you made earlier, he was just like sort of brushing off the issue. It didn't really have anything to do with him directly. He thought it would resolve itself out. But
I wonder if because Michael looked at Joey Zaza in the eye and asked them if someone is saying that Michael F Michael in the hood, then that person is the dog. And he kind of looked them in the eye for a good minute, and I guess he saw that Joey Zaza wasn't his enemy. So I'm not sure if that was just like him slipping, showing old age at that time, or at that moment he actually knew that Joey was a bad guy, even though he said there's no beef between them. Like, I'm not sure if he already knew then or he didn't know then, and it took that moment with was it Anthony? Yeah, shooting. Vincent shooting. These people right here. I wonder if it's what moment. If he actually was slipping, and then this one reaffirmed it, or he kind of already knew. I'm not quite sure.
See, I'm not sure either, because the Michael Corleone that we were introduced to in part 1 and part 2 was like a few steps ahead of everyone else.
And in this one, he was like kind of a step behind everybody else. Even in the kitchen when he found out when he had to go back in, he pulled me back in. Like, he was just like, he didn't know. He's like, who's the bad guy? He didn't know. He was talking to himself, trying to figure it out in his head. Kind of drove him crazy a bit. But yeah, he was slipping. Throughout the whole movie, showing his age.
Yes, I didn't know what the issue was. Like, he was losing grip of everything around him, and as much as he tried to cut ties with the criminal underworld, and we'll get to the helicopter scene in just a moment, because that's the precursor to that moment is essentially when in order for the Vatican agreement to go through, it wasn't just like, donate to us a bunch of money. You also have to externally, in the public eye, cut ties to like your casino businesses as well. And so he had a bunch of families and the entire commission and folks like on the payroll for those casinos across the country, that's pretty much why everyone is in that room with the helicopter scene that a lot of y'all may be familiar with, that I'll play a clip of. So they're all in this meeting while Michael Corleone is announcing, hey, I'm cutting ties. I'm paying all of you out, depending on how much you invested into the casino business already. And this is where we see Joey Zaza again. And Michael, to the point that Original Seed was making, we're still not sure if Michael's aware that Zaza isn't his enemy or not. but because Michael does not give any payout to Zaza, and he feels slighted because of that, he storms out of the room. And it's sort of like kind of uneasy, like a lot of like disquiet. People are just sort of like, okay, now what? Like, because he stormed out, like he made a huge announcement, like, you're now my enemy. And then we start to see, or we start to hear like this rumbling. The room starts rumbling and shaking. Like, I don't know what was going through your mind, like before, the huge shootout. But like, what did you think about that huge scene right there where Michael was cutting ties with the casino business and stuff?
Well, I mean, the whole reason for the sit down, obviously, like you said, was to cut ties with the commission. And at that point, it's because there was news that Michael was going to pretty much make a deal with this multinational corporation that controls a bunch of stuff. So it was going to be legitimate, make a lot more money than what they were making with the casino and other stuff. So after paying them out, yeah. So I like I said, that was a scene, I guess, happened. I'm not sure what part 1 or part 2. Like, I guess they sat down with the commission again. That was Michael then that was taking everyone out. So like, again, it shows that he's slipping. Like, he just thought, oh, I'm going to pay everyone out, give you guys all your money. And then we're all going to just be like, okay, well, I wash my hands of it and then I'm gone. So I guess, I mean, they needed that scene for the massacre, of course. So, I mean, I liked it. I mean, it explained a lot. It kind of just showed where Michael was heading, and but it also gave away a lot too. Like, whenever Joey Zaza went out, and then that old guy followed him. Like, it's like, okay, here we go again. Like, so it's like there's a lot of laziness like that, and so that's what I'm talking about. It's like the movie had great moments. They had all kinds of cool stuff, but the writing was just lazy because we already know what was going to happen. So when I heard all that rumbling, like, I thought it was going to be a helicopter, and so it ended up being a helicopter. So anyways.
On that note, I'm going to go ahead and share the tab for the scene so we can all watch it. It's just, a gore fest, just a visual masterpiece, in my opinion. So yeah, let's go ahead and check it out.
That you control Immobiliare. Immobiliare already is laundering money in Peru, in Nassau. We know that.
They're just giving away rings and stuff like it's no big deal.
It reminded me of when they were passing that gold phone around in Cuba in part 2. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, let me go look out the window. It's a helicopter, but I'm gonna go look.
My lucky coat. Like
that one, I was like, come
God.
on, dude.
Bruh.
Now you guys are probably asking, why isn't Michael getting hit? He's a former Marine.
I love Al Neri. That's the bodyguard. Zaza,
that's right. That's right. Those are some good last words, man.
Oh God, yes, classic. Oh my gosh, what I was saying during that scene, the guy holding the shotgun, that's Al Neri, the bodyguard from part 1 and part 2, who reprises his role here. And I fucks with him the long way. He is a fucking ride or die. He's one of the best parts of the series for me. Sorry, what were you about to say?
I wasn't saying anything. I was just that scene was pretty cool. Michael was slipping, being caught up in that room. Like, come on, dude. Especially when someone's walking out like that, it's like he's gonna do something stupid. But the thing that I didn't understand is, like, all these guys are like the criminal underworld, the masterminds of everything. They control everything, and they didn't know that this guy was gonna try to do a hit. Like, you guys don't you hear stuff on the street, or you guys don't have spies and other people's organizations or something. So I'm just saying these guys deserve to get whacked like that. They're running a weak family, a weak ship, because I would have been like steps ahead of that stuff. I mean, so telegraphed.
Yeah, exactly. like
Yeah.
like you were saying, Michael is just slipping so much, and he's not even that old. He's not even 60, according to
I
the
know.
movie.
He does
Like,
have diabetes, though. He does have diabetes, so maybe his health is just like he just can't think straight. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm not laughing at him having diabetes. I'm just saying that,
I'm
like,
just
even
saying, yeah.
even that disease doesn't explain, like, how brain dead he is.
I
And
mean, yeah, I'm like, so you know what I mean? It's like the Michael that we are. This is a shadow of his former self, man. And they're gonna put all his faith on this other guy who's so hot headed. It's just like, oh, how the family has just, how it's just like, God, that's not the family I knew and grew up with. That's all I'm saying.
on that point, like, let's compare Michael Corleone being like almost 60 years old to Vito Corleone being around the same age. They are just completely on like Vito Corleone would run laps around Michael, like as we're seeing him in part 3. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. He was always like wise. He was always he knew, like, he just was steps ahead, like he knew what was going to happen, even though he didn't know who was going to do it, so and this one, and Michael is just not even in that same ballpark, even though they try to throw a lot of references, like a lot of things, like, oh, he's like his father, or it's just like he's not. He's a shadow of his father. And the thing is sad is in the first 2 movies, he was like his father or even better. He was a younger version of his father. But in this one, they just kind of disrespected his character.
Yes. Yeah, no, like now that we're like really like talking in depth and like comparing the two, I feel like a good example, Vito was able to foresee his son's assassination and give him the exact steps on how to circumvent it. So like when Vito's old friend, what is his name? So there's 2 capos that are like lifelong friends of Vito Corleone, and one of them betrays Michael, or makes an attempt to betray Michael. So while Vito Corleone is still alive, he basically gives Michael the advice like, hey, like your enemy is actually going to enact these steps to plot your demise, and they're going to act like they're your ally when they're around you. So you need to be aware of how to basically separate them from like their crew and things like that, and then take them out. So that's basically the advice that he was able to give him before he passed away in part 1. Whereas Michael Corleone in this movie, there are some signs where he, like I said earlier, he is nurturing and, trying to teach and be a father figure to Vincent. But as far as like having that premonition or foresight that Vito had, it's not there.
No, Michael, he does mentor, what is his name? I can't forget his name. Sonny's kid.
Oh, Vincent.
Vincent. I was going to call him Anthony for some reason, because it's
oh yeah,
kid,
that's
Michael's kid.
Yeah.
But Vincent, so he does nurture him. I wrote down a few examples where he gives him information that his father pretty much gave Michael, or at least Sonny, at least the 3 kids at times.
That
one
Vito
of them was,
gave the sons.
Yeah, Vito gave the sons throughout, in part 2 and part 1. Never hate your enemies, it affects your judgment. So pretty much how Sonny was always all hot-headed, and not Sonny, freaking Vincent was always all hot-headed, just like his dad Sonny. But throughout the movie, he took that advice and he started being a lot more calmer. He wasn't letting his enemies know, or anybody in the meetings know, what he was thinking, because you don't want to let anybody out of the family know what you're thinking. But yeah, so yeah, that was another one. Don't let anybody out of the family know what you're thinking. So he was giving him advice to, on same advice that Vito gave him, but he just wasn't able to foreshadow anymore, like we said, how Vito, so he was, even though he was trying, he just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, jumping back into like the plot of the movie. So it's been established that Zaza is a betrayer. He basically murked everyone on the commission, except for some of the ones who were able to get away and who were aware of Zaza's betrayal all along.
Yeah.
So Michael Corleone is basically, like in shock or in hiding. And Vincent wants to take it upon himself to enact revenge. So he gets the endorsement, or like the quote unquote go ahead, from Michael's sister Connie, who's in the movie, who's pretty prominent in, who's probably the most prominent I've seen her in any of the movies, and Al Neary, the bodyguard who with the shotgun that we just watched in that scene. So he gets their support to enact revenge. So he gets, a bunch of goons, and they go and, like run up on Zaza in the middle of the street during a religious ceremony in New York and Little Italy. And he basically caps everyone and caps Joey Zaza. And it's kind of
that was actually another throwback to part 2 when they killed that guy. I forgot that mobster dressed in white. I forgot his name. Who would be walking around just kissing everybody. In
the flashback from young Vito. Yeah,
from young Vito. So pretty much, see, they're like, this movie was holding on. It's like they're just recycling a bunch of stuff they did in the other movies, throw it in this one, and kind of hoping that magic worked again. Now, I did like that scene, but I liked it because it reminded me of the first one where he's walking down the whole parade, and people are just like, the whole neighborhood's just there. But I did like that scene, how Andy Garcia comes in on a horse in a cop suit and just caps him. It was like, okay, dude, you're like, he's doing it. He's making sure he's doing it himself, and I was just like, dang,
Yeah. The Don in the white suit, Don Cheech or
Don Chichi. Yeah, Don Cheech. Yeah. There you go, or something like that.
Don Fanucci. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Thank you, Big Retro Show. Good to see you, by the way. This is my first time seeing you on the channel, so thank you for coming by to support. Uyumiko says, one of my high school history teachers made us watch the entire young Vito scene at school. Dude, so there's a number of scenes, so you're gonna have to specify which scene, because
because poor Vito, poor young Vito, he seemed like he was a little slow at first, and I was like, oh man, poor guy, but he had a lot of scenes when he was young, so I'm not quite sure which one a school would made you see though.
No, for real. Like if it's the Robert De Niro ones, those ones are really good. And once he starts to enter the life of crime with his colleagues, that's when we start to see him become more cunning and more ruthless. And he eventually goes out and murks Don Cheech. So yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why they threw this part in them. That's why they did the whole parade thing, just to pull on those strings again.
No, for sure. Yeah, those nostalgia strings. And Lucky Day says, Julia Roberts and Madonna were supposed to play Mary, but they gave the part to the director's daughter, LOL. So Winona Ryder pulled out of playing Mary like the day before she was supposed to start shooting. So
maybe Winona would have been good, But totally. I don't know about freaking Madonna or...
she's too old. Like she would have been way too old to play like even an 18-year-old at that time.
Then maybe I wouldn't have felt weird if they were doing the nasty together. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's all right.
It wouldn't have been as jarring. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, Madonna, she goes with everybody. She's like, she don't care. She's a free spirit.
And the homie Real Shift Joe, what's up, my guy? Godfather 3 gets a lot of hate. I think it has more to do with that it's following 2 of the greatest movies ever made, and it's still better than a lot of other mob movies. Okay, so that's actually a fair point. Totally. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, because like the actual movie making, like the cinematography, like the way it looks, the like the music and the way it's shot, it's actually it's quite good, So I'm not gonna say it's not like a good movie. It's just when you're part 3. Especially after part 1 and part 2 were just so good. You're not going to live up to expectations. And so that's why all the harsh criticism comes from it. But like a lot of people were saying, part 3 shouldn't have been made. But I think it needed to be made so they can have all the resolution of what happens.
No, I totally agree. And so when part 2 came out, that was 1974. And then part 3 came out 16 years later. So we had 16 years where The Godfather was basically entrenched in our society as what mainstream folks like who aren't, affiliates of, crime or anything like that, what we perceive, as, organized crime. Like that's kind of like the, for at least like folks like me, for example, like what we imagine, organized crime to be, even though it's completely fabricated, fantasy, whatever. So that mystique was pretty much permeated the public perception of what organized crime is for almost 20 years by the time this movie came out. So that is a huge like sort of mystique to break through, and that whole like larger than life perception of what the Godfather was, especially from part one 18 years earlier, had already set in place. Like it set the bar really, really high is what I'm trying to say.
No, it did. And even, I mean, the whole thing is like about the Godfather, and I think the whole bringing in the church part kind of just I don't know, that like if they would have left the church part out, I think it would have, and they could have worked more like on the story part, maybe like on the family. Then I think it would have been a better movie. I think the church part just kind of, I don't know, threw it for a loop.
No, you're totally right. Yeah, no, I actually have the scene where Michael tries to further make more of a legitimate amends to further connect to his family and show that he has remorse for his past actions when he makes his confession to the Pope, not a Pope, but like one of the bishops. So I do have that scene. It's just a couple minutes long. I can go ahead and share it. Let's see. And this is essentially where he confesses to killing his brother in part two.
Betrayed my wife.
Go on, my son.
I betrayed myself. I killed men. And I ordered men to be killed.
Go on, my son. Go on.
Nah, it's useless.
Go on, my son.
I killed. I ordered the death of my brother. He injured me. I killed my mother's son. I killed my father's son.
Just really quick, I'll play the rest of the clip, but like when I watch this scene, I don't feel like sad or empathy for Michael here. I'm just like, I feel like it's too little too late. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I was always on the opinion that he shouldn't have killed his brother, Fredo. Even though he was a liability. I mean, keep him locked up in the house, man. Keep him locked up with Kay, But so I mean, I can understand what you're trying to do. He's been holding on to this guilt for 20 years. I don't know how long it's been, and it's been eating up inside. And so that's that's how the whole movie started with Fredo, trying to pull at the heartstrings, and then it's trying to bring it back here because of it. Actually, it mentions Fredo like 5 times in this movie, I think. But
yes.
5 different places, you know what I mean? So it's a huge throwback, or at least, so I don't know. I mean, I don't feel sorry for Michael, and except for one scene. Throughout the whole movie, I don't feel sorry for him one bit. I'm actually disappointed, like I said, disappointed in his character, but I don't feel sorry for him at all.
No, totally. I totally agree. I'm just going to finish up the scene. And this priest
Your
is...
sins are terrible, and it is just that you suffer. Your life could be redeemed. But I know that you don't believe that. You will not change. Ego te absolvo, in nome de Patris, Filii et Spiritus Sanctus. Amen.
I wonder if they're blocking him is because his crime was fake, and so like, let's put these as a no.
Where'd the tears go?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Like, let's show the priest or the I guess he's an archbishop, he's gonna be a pope, whatever. Let's show the flowers, let's show all the back, and let's show the back of his head. Let's show him on the floor, but don't show his face because he's not really remorseful.
It's wild though, because I know that Al Pacino can emote, especially like in the ending scene, which I do have the clip for as well. He's like screaming in
Man,
anguish, like he's leaking from every like
see, that's what
orifice
I'm
on
saying.
his
And,
face.
see,
Yeah.
and that's the scene where I actually felt bad for him, where
Yes.
I don't want to spoil it yet, but I mean that's the scene where I actually felt bad for him.
Exactly. No, so like just to like quickly like to make a small segue. So like I'm not a particularly religious person, so a lot of like the Catholic mythology is a little lost on me. I don't want to make assumptions, but like did the imagery in this movie for you like kind of have any particular significance? Because I'm not
No,
religious, so none of it
see,
really like resonated with me.
I'm religious. I'm not religious. Like I'm not I don't practice religion. But I do like it in the sense of history and storytelling, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Um,
Yeah.
so I do read a lot of it, and I do get into I get into it. I do. But I was looking for those moments in this movie, like juxtaposition between like being pulled between the devil and God, trying to be just I was looking for that. I was looking for scenes. I was looking for anything, and I couldn't find it anywhere. One scene in Breaking Bad that I remember was when Jesse came back from rehab. I think I don't know what it was, but he was in his house and he was painting everything white, and the sun was shining, and Jesse was dressed in white, and he was just painting everything. He was trying to forget all his past and everything, and then Walter comes in, and I think he might be dressed in black or red, and it just shows Jesse up here and on the top, and it shows Walter in the bottom, and they're having a discussion, and you can see the struggle between good and evil at that point, and they didn't even have to use like freaking church symbols or anything like that. Just you already knew between the shot, the brightness and the dark, and you already knew that power struggle. But in here, I didn't see any of that. I might have missed it, but I was looking and I didn't see it.
No, you're totally right. And I do apologize because we did go offline for a small bit of time
Oh,
because of the
yeah,
content. So I apologize for that. I knew it was going to happen eventually, but I just wanted to give you a heads up.
it's all good.
Okay. But yeah, Real Shift Joe, I love the Godfather trilogy so much. Just a huge influence on me creatively. Yeah, no, part 1 and part 2, like the cinematography, the character acting, the use of lighting and shadow and light in order to convey tension in every scene, and just how the dialogue was spaced out in order to further increase the tension in the scene is what, makes me enjoy watching those movies again and again and again.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
because like to the it's not like a big old blockbuster thing with explosions, everything
yeah.
happening. So when you go into these movies, The Godfather Part 1, Part 2, and even this one, you gotta look at it from a different lens. You gotta look at it through the movie making process lens. To appreciate all the little hard, subtle things that they do right in this movie.
Yes, exactly. And no, like to Yumiko's point, the Cain and Abel analogy with Michael and Fredo is, now that you pointed out, it's I can definitely see it now too. So like, yeah, no, for me, like some of
Definitely,
the
that's a good observation there, Tommy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Cool. So yeah, just like going back to the synopsis of the movie, Michael is ready to fully hand over the family to the Corleone family to Vincent. He gives Vincent the last name Corleone, and that's pretty much him like being fully like indoctrinated into the family and taking it
Did-
over as the Don. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
I was gonna say, did Jon Snow ever get a last name? I'm not quite sure. It took him
Oh, I
like
never
maybe.
watched Game of Thrones.
Oh man, it might have taken him like 6 or 5 seasons to get a last name. I'm not sure. And this one, Andy Garcia got a last name like hella quick. It's like, you're my only choice. Here you go. You're one of us. Take
Yeah,
over.
yes, definitely. Yeah, no, at the risk of getting taken down again, I'll try to avoid more clips. But yeah, no, shooting through when Vincent takes over the family, Michael then accepts that his birth son, Anthony, who didn't want to become associated with the Corleone family business, he wanted to go off and be an opera singer. Michael accepts that ultimately after he, confesses his sins to the priest and hands over his family to Vincent, or the Corleone family business to Vincent. He's finally ready to, be the father he never was to his family. So that's when, like I said, he accepts that his son Anthony wants to be an opera singer, so he goes and supports him being an opera singer in Italy, where there's like this huge, for lack of a better adjective, operatic scene in the opera of.
It might have been
Uh,
Sicily.
oh, okay, yeah, no, yeah, totally. I'm probably mixing up the locations, but basically, so it's similar to when in part one, Michael is at the baptism scene for Connie's baby, and he is ordering the deaths of the then heads of the commission of all the 5 families in New York. So while the opera is happening, where Michael is with his birth family, and Vincent is sort of orchestrating in the background the murders of everyone who was like, going to be a hindrance to the ongoing business for the Corleone family, including the Archbishop that we were introduced to in the beginning of the movie, and other Vatican representatives, including the Pope. And Connie is actually part of this, murder scheme as well. So all of these, deaths are orchestrated and timed very. I will give the movie credit that it does time it pretty well, with cuts between Michael's son Anthony on stage performing the opera, living out his dream, while all of these, orchestrated deaths are being are taking place, and murders being taken place by Vincent and Connie and all the family associates during that time. Do you have any thing to add
that was
there?
actually and no, that scene took a long time too, but that was actually a pretty good scene. It put a lot of wheels in motion. It was just like you didn't know what was. It was very intense, at least you can say. You know what I mean? Like you had that professional assassin who never fails. He has a reputation for never failing. Who actually ended up killing one of Michael's long-time advisors, where he hid out, I think in the first movie, in Sicily, where he
Yes.
hit Don Tomatillo, something like that. Anyways,
Yes.
so that assassin, him doing all inside the movie theater, in his little father suit with his damn rifle, just like killing people like left and right. He's like 70 years old, 80 years old, and those 2 twins couldn't even take him out. And it's like, anyways, the whole point. I mean, I liked it. I was just like, oh, what's gonna happen there? Then you see the sun just going at it. And I'm like, God, you seem pretty good, So I like that whole scene. It was pretty good. And then even speaking of Connie, they had to rely on a lot of Connie because I guess they didn't have Robert Duvall anymore, and so they needed like these actors that you had from back then. So Connie did take a huge role. She kind of took over a ruthless guiding light for the family type of role. It's totally 180 from before, when she was trying to stay away from the family. This time she's like all gun ho. So I appreciated her as well too, and how she killed the old man who was plotting against him with the little cannolis.
Yeah,
I like that whole scene. It's good. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I was just going to quickly add that the whole reason that Robert Duvall was not in the movie was because they refused to pay him the same amount as they were paying Al Pacino. And that's just, BS, because in my opinion, Tom Hagen, the character that Robert Duvall played, is Michael Corleone's adopted brother, who in part one is the consigliere, or basically the council, the main point of contact for counseling to the head of the boss of the family. So him not being there and just quickly like being given a line like, oh, like after Tom's death, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just so dishonorable to the impact of that character, because the Corleone family would be royally effed like without Tom having been there in part one and part two.
It was a huge part. You should have paid him. Who cares? You know what I mean? It's like, think about the movie. I mean, I don't know. They did have his son was a priest, but it's like,
yes. Yeah, it wasn't the same, and we didn't really get that many scenes with him either, or any talk.
No, I think they were just in there just to like, oh, we didn't forget about Tom.
Yes, yeah, totally. I think you're right. And then just to like quickly like fill in a gap where I jumped too far ahead. So Vincent and Mary's relationship. So Vincent, Sonny's illegitimate son, Andy Garcia's character, and Mary, Sofia Coppola's character, they do have this weird incestuous relationship, potentially predatory as well. Like, no, it's absolutely predatory, actually.
Yeah.
So for the viewing audience, knowing all of that, it's actually the movie tries to communicate it in a very like innocent, way, and like it's supposed to be like kind of a schoolgirl crush that she has on him. We know that Mary
But
tries
then they
to.
start making pasta together, and
Oh,
then she
yeah.
stays the night. And I'm just saying.
They start making ketchup noises. Yeah.
You hear that bottle just like pounding, like it's not coming out.
Exactly. It's just so wrong.
Yeah,
But
like I'm saying, like all the good parts in the movie, like that is like it's like come on, guys. Anyway, that's just saying it. I'm like that's always gonna get me, no matter how good the movie is. That is always gonna get me.
It's so distracting, but like I'm trying to just quickly like wrap up that part of the story.
The whole part of the story though, Michael does make a deal with Sonny's kid, Vincent. Does make a deal with Vincent. Hey, if you're gonna take over the Godfather, if you're gonna live this life, of living the Godfather, this gangster life, then you gotta let go of my daughter. You gotta choose either be a Godfather or keep boning my daughter. And I guess he figured I can get another 16-year-old. I don't need your daughter. So then he kind of cut ties there, and they kind of have a little falling out.
Yes, yeah. Vincent has to break Mary's heart and say, Mary says, "I'll always love you." Vincent says, "Go love somebody else." That hurt. Yeah. Okay, so as wrong as their relationship was, as soon as he said, "Go love somebody else," after she said, "I'll always love you," I was like, damn.
No, see, the thing is, you don't got to string people along. Like if you don't like them, just let them know, hey, girl, we had a good time, but this is it. You got to go and find somebody else. You could have been like, hey, I'll call you later, and then like you'd be there waiting on your phone, but like, oh my god, he's not calling me, or whatever the thing. He's not calling me. You don't want to do that.
They'll always have pasta night, I guess.
Exactly. Whenever they're making those gnocchis, she can always think about the gnocchi. So.
Yes. Yeah, totally. So yeah, that he breaks her heart. They go to the opera together. They have to save face and kind of pretend that they're still cordial and everything's fine. And that's basically when we jump back to that orchestrated scene of the murders taking place after Vincent takes over the Corleone family. So, and yeah, Uyumiko, to your point, it's hard when you're a teenager, though. That's what's so jarring about, these events. It's like, this sociopathic serial killer who's now the head of like a multi like $100 million, if not billion-dollar conglomerate, international conglomerate, like just broke this young girl's heart who was also his first cousin. Like that's a lot to digest, like from this movie on top of, Michael Corleone's like, death arc. So yeah, like and the whole Vatican corruption thing too. Like it's just a lot to process.
There's a lot of stuff. It was.
The origins of Uyumiko's rage is in Teenage Broken Heart. Oh yeah, I can tell like all that angst in your music for sure. I think that's why I like your music so much. Like it's just really angsty and I vibe with it a lot.
I feel it.
But alrighty. So yeah, wrapping up, end of the movie comes along. Everyone gets murked, or a lot of the enemies of the Corleone family get murked, and one of which happens to be, spoiler alert, Mary Corleone, Michael Corleone's daughter. She takes one of the bullets intended for her father after the assassin who was sent out to kill Michael Corleone at the opera misses and shoots through Mary's back and through her chest. So essentially Mary blocks the hit from Michael, and Vincent kills the assassin, but it was too little too late. Mary bleeds in the arms of her father, and her mother is towering over her dead body. It's kind of like the lamentation scene. Like I'm an art major, so like I have some art history like knowledge a little bit. So like Mary holding her son Jesus in her arms, like lamenting his death. Like it's a pretty powerful image right there. That's sort of harkened back into this this movie a little bit. And what's surprising is that they kind of foreshadowed the death of Mary. A little bit on the nose, actually. There's this puppet scene where some like street entertainer is telling the story of a father who kills his daughter for having an affair with her cousin. And me having watched the movie already, I'm just like, oh, this analogy is so on the nose. Like, how can you not tell what's happening?
I didn't see that part. Like, I didn't catch that part, or at least I wasn't paying attention. But I mean, obviously, now that you say it, it's like, like it's not subtle at all.
No, it really isn't. Yeah, no. What did you think about before we get to like the ending, like Mary getting shot at? Yeah.
Yeah, that scene. I really like that scene a lot. That's the only that's the only part where I felt sorry for Michael. When I first saw it as a kid, that part where Michael's gonna scream but nothing comes out at first, it's just there going, and like there was no sound coming from the movie. Like I thought maybe they muted that sound on purpose, but it was kind of him just gasping for that primal yell, and that busts out after. So I really love that scene. It just showed all that pain. Finally, Michael feels emotion. Like it all just kind of just came out at that moment with that youch. And I don't know, I really like that part. And the thing, and I actually kind of cried a little because the last words were dad, and it's like that's the only thing that matters to him. He did all his whole life. The only thing that matters to him was his family. And at that moment, he lost the one person that freaking loved him unconditionally. No matter what, she loved him so much. And that was just him, like, devastated. After that, it was just done. Didn't matter. And I actually, even though I don't have kids, like, I felt that bond. And then I was like, my God, imagine you having a kid and she dies in front of you, and that's the only thing you care about. So that's the only part that I actually cried a little. I was like, oh my God, oh, so I felt bad for him there.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it like better myself. It was like the one moment in this entire movie where I felt empathy for Michael, just like an immense amount of loss and lack of meaning for going forward, because he lost the one thing that was keeping him going. And we then jump forward to when he's even older, alone at a villa in Sicily.
It was the same villa where his mentor lived, I believe.
Yes.
Whatever. So yeah.
He's at this villa where his mentor, where he stayed at in part 1 when he was in hiding in Corleone after all the families went to war after he killed the person who was trying to assassinate his father and the police officer and stuff like that. That was his bodyguard. Blah 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 blah. Basically, family friend villa in Sicily. He's there. Michael Corleone is there in his old age, and he just topples over after adjusting his shades, staring out into the distance, and then just toppling over.
He pretty much. It's like a throwback to the way his dad died, out there. But except he died alone. When his dad died, I think he had Anthony there as a little.
Yeah, Anthony was there
as a little child, But this time he didn't have no grandchildren there with him. He had no family there with him when he died. And I really like the throwback, like in the ending scene, after he fixes his glasses and he topples over, he has an orange, and that orange falls and it rolls over. And the funny thing is, when his dad died, he was playing with Anthony. He had his orange in his mouth, and he ended up, dying, choking, whatever, with the orange. And it's just funny because that orange, it's like throughout the movie, there's different parts where the orange is seen there. And it's just a nice little throwback to the dad. And I thought it was a nice little ending. It just shows that Michael went full circle, ended up losing everything, ending up where he didn't want to end up. And it's just so sad.
No. So for me, having watched the director's cut, I just wanted to call out that they removed the part of the scene where Michael topples over to his death. So I felt like that really removed the impact of the lack of purpose and lack of meaning that Michael's actions had ultimately in trying to go legitimate, over the course of all 3 movies. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, why would they do that in the director's cut? Like, what they end up with him just sitting down or looking in the distance?
Yes,
Do they show the
exactly.
orange?
They do. Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Oranges are a big thing in all three films, so I'm really, really grateful that you called that out.
Yeah, I was actually gonna have an orange there, but I ate it earlier on. Yeah, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah, no, and yeah, no, that was the Godfather Part 3.
It was the Godfather Part 3.
So yeah, no, what are your, final thoughts on the movie, Original Seed?
My final thoughts is that I'm glad they made it. I'm glad they it was a lot of fan service there. It could have been better. I think the church part just got a little too convoluted. But I understand that now. When now that Tommy points out how the whole story between Cain, Abel, and killing your father's son and all that stuff, because they do talk about Fredo a lot, and being religious, you want to get redemption as well. And he does pray to God, saying, "If you redeem me, then I'll walk away from everything." So I guess God didn't redeem him, and he got what he got. So I mean, when you think about the story, is good. I appreciate everything they did. It's just those little points, with being kissing cousins. Just the story just being so convenient at times where you can already tell what's gonna happen. Also, it's just like there's just things that didn't make sense, like how the bad guy, like the old man, and after he killed Joey, took Vincent's word that he wanted to betray Michael, so he gave him the plan, and he went up to Michael, let him know, okay, this is the bad guy, this is what's gonna happen. Let me take care of it. Give me the word. It's like, come on, like you're gonna tell your arch nemesis, like your plan. So there's a lot of stuff that didn't fit with the movie. Like it just was like rushed. I don't know what it was, but the writing was awful at parts, and it just but at least I know what happened. I don't have to guess. At least it's put a bow in it and it's done. So I do appreciate the movie as a whole, even though it's definitely my worst one out of the three, but it's not the worst movie ever made.
Really quick, Uyamiko brought up a good question. Were the oranges related to a religious festival? For me, I never really knew exactly what the oranges were supposed to represent, other than maybe like the fragility of life, like how maybe like oranges are a springtime fruit, and maybe like how quickly they rot. I'm not sure.
I haven't really looked into the orange either, so like I'm not sure if it's like where it came from the first one, or if it's just because.
I think it is just because it's supposed to add another color of contrast into like really dark scenes.
Definitely, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, I think where I still feel is that like part 1 and part 2 are a complete, film, in my opinion. Like I watch part 1 and then I feel compelled to watch part 2. And with part 3, I think they did a disservice by marketing it as Godfather Part 3. Its true title, at least like what Francis Ford Coppola re-released it as, is The Death of Michael Corleone. So that's supposed to be like an epilogue, basically.
That would have been better if they didn't have it as a part 3 and just had that. Then it probably wouldn't have got so much hate. And I think it would have just, because like you said, part 1 and part 2 as movies stand alone. You can watch it and be like, oh my God, it's an awesome movie. You watch part 3 and it relies so much on part 1 and part 2 that it doesn't sound on its own pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. If I were compelled to give it some sort of like star rating or whatever, I might give it maybe like a 7 out of 10. For someone who jumps right in to watch part 3, you're probably going to have a bad time because of all of the fan service and previous knowledge you're going to need in order to enjoy the viewing experience.
You're only going to enjoy part 3 if you watch part 1 and part 2, because it gives you so much history and the characters and all the subtle things that you like. You wouldn't know Michael slipping in the third one if you didn't know how great he was in the first 2.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. If you had to give it a score, what would you give it off the top of your head?
I think 7 is good, because technically it's a great movie, but it doesn't stand on its own. The writing's kind of awful and it has some weird parts. So yeah, 7 sounds good.
Totally. Yamiko says, "Can you guys do My Blue Heaven next?" I've never heard of that movie.
I've never heard of it either, but yeah.
I can definitely look into it. We have I personally have a lot of different shows planned in the coming weeks and stuff, but I will definitely do some research and see when the next time Original Seed is free to chat movie talk.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, this has been an awesome conversation. Again, I'm really, fortunate to have you on the show again, Original Seed. Thank you so much for making time to chat about this really weird movie. And yeah, no, I think we can both agree that this movie does feel a little bit unnecessary in times and kind of taxing to get through, but it's not the worst movie ever. And it does get a bad rap because it's got such a high bar to live up to. But ultimately, it's a serviceable movie. There are some moments that do resonate and that are cinematic and memorable, but ultimately, it's just another, movie that sort of falls flat in the end, especially as a standalone product. So that's about it.
That's it.
Alrighty. And Chillmonger says people talk about it like it's worse than Seven. Wait, what? Talk about what? The Mafia movie.
Oh, worse than a Seven. No.
Worse than a Seven. Oh,
I was thinking of the movie Seven. I was like, oh.
Got it. Alrighty, so yeah, no, this has been another episode of the Glimmer Cast. This is episode 16. Thank you again to Original Seed from Potion Sword Run. Where can we find you at, by the way, before we wrap up?
YouTube, Potion Sword Run. That's where I release all my videos that you guys like or don't like. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna be doing. I was gonna do a video today, but I was cleaning, but I'm always stalking. I'm always seeing what you guys are doing, seeing what pops up. So I'll probably put a video up tomorrow, the next day. And if you want to chat on Twitter, look at my cats and dogs and video game clips. You can find me at Potion Sword Run at Twitter as well.
Awesome. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and play the outro music. Thank you again, Original Seed. You have a great evening. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another great show. I'll catch y'all next time. All right, peace out. Bye.
Bye.